Happy Tuesday, my friends. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And this is the final division, final four teams that we're going to be previewing the off seasons for, as we've done all 32 NFL teams after today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the AFC East. As free agency is somehow already underway. Like I thought you couldn't negotiate with free agents until the 13th, but Derek Carr signed. I mean, Daniel Jones signed. We're going to be doing a whole free agency preview episode tomorrow.
I guess nothing is signed. It's just stuff has been agreed to.
I know, but you're not even supposed to be allowed to negotiate with free agents until the 13th. So like either the NFL doesn't care, or it should all be tampering.
No, I ain't heard nothing about it. So yeah,
I don't know. Just all I know is that free agency negotiating was supposed to not be able to start until the 13th. So I don't know. But yeah, this is our NFL offseason AFC East preview. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We go live basically every single day, bringing you guys the most up-to-date content we can. Also, if you do happen to miss us live, check us out on our streaming platforms. The link is in the chat on all of that stuff. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. So continue to check us out. I'm David Huffman, my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins, right there. TJ, let's just get right into this, and let's start with the team that actually was the weakest team in this particular division, the New York Jets. And their draft capital right there on the screen. They have a pick in every single round besides the seventh round. The notable free agents there on the screen: George Font, Sheldon Rankins, Connor McGovern, Dan Feeney, LaMarcus Joyner, Quan Alexander, Solomon Thomas, Mike White, the legend that is Mike White. They have negative $1.73 million in cap space. Robin Saleh, head coach, GM Joe Douglas. I don't know how to pronounce their team president, so I'm not going to try. How should the Jets approach free agency and the draft? And let's talk about Aaron Rodgers.
I'm just calling President Jaime. I have to hear his President Jaime. I got to hear how his last name is pronounced before I attempt it.
I didn't want to butcher it, so I figured it'd be respectful just now. But yeah, President Jaime.
President Jaime.
But let's let's first talk about the Aaron Rodgers situation. So apparently he's talking. The Packers have allowed him to negotiate with.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think ends up happening here with this?
So basically, any team that trades for Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are basically asking for. I guess the big one outside of the draft compensation is of that 58 or 60 million. That Aaron Rodgers is going to be getting, how much of that are you willing to take on? And if that is, I don't know what just happened to the screen, but so I think with Derek Carr off the market going to New Orleans, I guess that puts the Jets in kind of a panic mode.
Well, 100%.
Really.
I mean, there's nobody. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Derek Carr is not going to be your quarterback. I don't think you can go into another season with Zach Wilson as the only legitimate quarterback on your roster.
I don't even, me personally, I don't even think they should get Aaron Rodgers. I legit think the guy that they should get, they have the draft compensation to do it. Go talk to Lamar. Go talk to the Ravens.
Yeah.
I would go with him. I think he's quote unquote less of the headache between the two. You also don't know how long you're gonna have Aaron Rodgers. You're gonna have Aaron Rodgers for what? 2 seasons maybe?
I think at max. I mean, you're eventually gonna end up right back where you are now.
Right where you are.
Like, and then no proven quarterback on your roster and holes all over the place.
So
even though they do have a very good defense that they can really lean on,
and they have solid offensive pieces, it's just the hang up is the quarterback. Now I was listening to Colin Cowherd's show this morning because that's what I do when I'm at work. That's how I get through the night. The podcast that the sports shows that they play during the day, I listen to their shows at night because I'm asleep during the day when they're on.
Yeah.
And Jason McIntyre, he's a Jets fan. He's like, should the Bears Justin Fields out of that? I'm like, you had the chance to draft Justin Fields.
True.
Like the Jets had a chance.
They passed on him for Zach Wilson. Look how that's worked out.
Exactly. So I I don't know what the Jets. I don't know what the Jets should do. Like I already said it. Me personally, I would go out there. I would go after Lamar Jackson for the simple fact that I know I'm going to have Lamar Jackson for a longer period of time than I would have Aaron Rodgers. I don't need a guy who's going to be wishy washy with me in the off season. Well, I need to develop a rapport with these young dudes and it's basically this whole new team. But I'm gonna go do a darkness retreat. I'm gonna go to Peru and get high off a drug, and then I'm gonna come into a season where we're gonna struggle for like the first month, and then we're gonna have to play catch up, like which is what just happened. And yeah, it was too little, too late for the Green Bay Packers. And if I'm the Jets, I'm not subjecting my young my young team to that. Not doing that. I'm not putting Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis and CJ Ozama and Brees Hall when he comes back. I'm not putting them through that. I'm not doing that. So if I'm the Jets, obviously the first thing that it's luckily for them, like they're not in the hole for a lot. Negative 1.73 million.
I
That's
think
nothing.
because I've seen some reports on some other websites that their cap space is actually a little bit more than that. But that's the number because I go off of overthecap.com, which is how I get all of my cap space on every single team in the NFL. But I have seen in the one from Pro Football Network, it says they have $15.9 million in cap space. But I can't confirm that number, so I'm just going to have to roll with what the number I got on my screen. So,
Mike White was a good story for like 3 games.
yeah, they do have a lot of players they could cut in order to save a lot of money and get back under the cap. Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, Laken Tomlinson, Jordan Whitehead, C.J. Mosley, Dwayne Brown actually retired, so he does not count towards their cap. I know Braxton Berrios $5 million, and then Justin Hardy, so they could say $2.4 million by cutting him.
Okay, so just another one names on the guys that's free agents. I actually want to start with keeping some of those dudes and keeping who you can. I don't know how they still feel about Mike White. If they want to keep Mike White, it's not like they can't. It's not like there's a lot of suitors for Mike White out there.
No,
you feel me?
I do not think the market will be very high for Mike White. Because yes, he was a nice story, but he was never really all that good.
And if I'm the Jets, I might not you might not win the Super Bowl with Mike White. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with Mike White. But here's the thing.
You ain't winning one with Zach Wilson either, so
that's the thing. And also, you got to have somebody who knows the team in the event that you don't get none of these guys. Like if you miss out on Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson and Jimmy Garoppolo and whoever else is out there, Ryan Tannehill, who knows what happens with him in Tennessee. You got to have a dude in Mike White who knows the offense, who seems to have a good rapport with the team. We all know the story about how when they decided to go back to Zach Wilson, it was like, damn, the team was not with it. Then he gets benched for Mike White, and it was almost like it was a big pick me up. It was a let's go, we can do this now. So, I would keep out of all the guys listed. I would definitely make a priority to keep Mike White, and I understand that he ain't Sheldon Rankins, he ain't Quan Alexander, he ain't LaMarcus Joyner, but I gotta have a dude who has a rapport with the offense.
Yeah, especially if you end up swinging and missing, because you'll end up trying to address quarterback in the draft, and you need to have somebody who's going to. I'm not sure what they do with Zach Wilson. So we talk about pros of free agency in the draft. I would pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers. I know he's a headache. I know as a Bear fan, all that stuff, but I would make that decision. Like I think he would be.
I gotta go Lamar.
I think he'd be draft pick cheaper as well. Like I think. Because you're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks in order to get Lamar Jackson. I don't think the asking price for Aaron Rodgers is going to be 2 first-round picks. I think he will come cheaper.
No, I got to go Lamar. I got to get Lamar. That's just me. It's nothing. It's not that I don't have anything against Aaron Rodgers as a talent. Like, as a talent, this dude, we will never see the talents of Aaron Rodgers coming to this league ever again. The guy is going to retire with a 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's never going to be done again.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
his stats
he's
are up through the roof.
he's what 18 years in. He doesn't even have 100 career interceptions yet. Think about that.
It's yeah. But let's talk about how they approach the draft. So let's assume they trade for either Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. I still think that this team needs to bolster up this offensive line
Yes,
because
you
you know
whip
they
that.
have
You whip
Mekhi
that left
Becton.
tackle.
Mekhi
You whip
Becton
that.
has kind of been injury. Kind of you can't really rely on him to be
Yeah.
what people thought he'd be. So this
Mhm.
offensive line needs to be fixed. Like you need to work on your offensive line. Half the problem
You
with the Jets, even though Dwayne Brown was very good last season, their quarterbacks are getting killed.
murdered. You whiff that left tackle. I hate to say it. Mekhi Becton was definitely lauded and praised, especially with the combine that he put up, which we'll get into. But you can't stay on the field, dude. It sucks because he was lauded. Like he ran a sub. I think he ran barely a five flat 40-yard dash because he's 6'7". He's like damn near 400 pounds, and he's moving. And we were like, "Yo, you're not supposed to be that big and can move like that. That's just not normal. That is not okay." In the sense of like, yeah, but you can't stay on the field. So if
Yeah,
I'm
he's had
at
some
the,
really super bad breaks. You know, some different
so
injuries here and there. So
if I'm them at 13, I kind of gauge, the first few picks. Obviously, I understand like you could be in the quarterback race for one of the top four dudes, but at the same time, what good is the quarterback if he's constantly running for his life and he getting killed? So if I'm them, I need my left tackle. I go get Paris Johnson out of Ohio State.
I actually think that Peter Skoronsky will probably be the guy that falls to them because I think because Paris Johnson had such a strong combine, I think he will be the first tackle taken. I think Skoronsky will be the guy they end up with, as long as they don't have to give up this pick, obviously. I mean,
I see that's the thing. Like I don't know. Would you move up to try to get a Paris Johnson, or would you run the risk of staying back?
no, I think I'd stay pat. I think Peter Skoronsky will be as good as Paris Johnson. And Paris Johnson is just his stock is higher right now because of how he performed on the combine. Whatever
And he's
you
a left
think
tackle.
of, and whatever you think about the combine and whatever you think about players' results, their draft capital stock rising not astronomically because of the combine. That's a thing that happens every year. Like Anthony Richardson might be the first quarterback taken now because of his combine. For real,
Because of
like
his combine.
I'm not
Yeah.
playing around. Like you
No,
for sure
no,
might be.
I get it. I get it.
And it's not even that. It's the fact that he did all of the drills during the combine, and Bryce Young chose not to throw. Like if Bryce Young had chose, I think he should have thrown. I don't really know what his camp was telling
Man,
him.
hey, my game tape is my combine.
That's true.
F that combine.
Let's talk about top three priorities when it comes to the New York Jets. What's got to be the priorities here when they're in this offseason? What do they have to get accomplished?
We kind of hit on we hit on two of them already, right? Offensive line, quarterback. Got to get those two. Right? This team was what 2 games out of making the playoffs. They go?
They were what were they 7-1 at one point this season or 7-3 something like that.
They got out to a great start, and then
you went through.
Joe Flacco took reps at quarterback, Mike White took reps at quarterback, and Zach Wilson took reps at quarterback, and it was a revolving door.
Chris
Streffler took reps at quarterback, and I legit remember what's his name, Izzy, watching the preseason game of the Jets, and he's like, "Hey, this Chris Streffler kid should be good." I'm like, if he's taking reps for the Jets, that means Zach Wilson is either hurt or has just been god awful. Buddy should not.
Which is exactly what happened. He got hurt and he was god awful. Elijah, but a lot of their decline also came with the fact that Elijah Vera-Tucker got hurt, and when Elijah Vera-Tucker got hurt, their offensive line started to fall apart. They have like Connor McGovern, who's their starting center, and Lincoln Thomas is the starting left guard. Those are 2 guys you probably need to keep in free agency.
Yes.
So I also think you need to figure out the tight end position. I know Tyler Conklin's there. I know Uzoma's there. They're nice, but I just don't think they're anything really over the top special. And I also think they could use another pass rush, especially if they cut Carl Larson. I think that should be their third priority. get a proven edge rusher. Jermaine Johnson had a very mediocre rookie season.
I would actually, I'm prioritizing everything offense if I'm the Jets. I understand like defense is definitely needed. You have a defensive head coach. That's his calling card. I 100% understand like your thought process behind getting the proven edge rusher. The issue that you have out there is get the proven edge rusher how? Who you like trade for
Oh,
who?
well, I don't know. So I mean, we're gonna
Sign
do a
who
free.
or sign who? Who like who's the premier edge
I
rusher that's
mean, I
on the
mean,
market
I
right
mean,
now?
Shaquille Barrett might get cut. I mean, as Tampa Bay looks to free up some money, I mean, that's a guy that could be essentially
That's
a plug and play. But
that's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of
yeah, 100%. I mean, but also, I would address it in the draft if I'm going edge rusher. I'm not going to pay. They don't have the money to pay for a guy to come
they
in
don't have the
anyways.
money to pay for exactly.
So,
So
but
you
you got to hit on
defensively
you got to hit on this guy in the draft.
defensively you might have to build this through the draft. Um, I think my third priority would definitely because you had some offensive dudes like Elijah. Oh, what's his name?
Elijah Moore. I mean,
Elijah
Denzel
Moore. Like
Mims.
you had two dudes voice their frustration, demand trades, and they're like they got laughed at because it's like, dude, who are you to demand the trade? I don't know, an NFL player that cares about my future. Because like,
The same thing with
because
Denzel Mims. Like he requested a trade,
exactly, like
and I
because
mean,
according to y'all say I can't play, but I can't play because my quarterback can't get me the damn ball. Like, yeah, that's the issue. So that's me. That's what I would do.
totally agree with you. We'll see what ends up happening. Moving on from the Jets, let's talk about the team that finished second to last in this division, New England Patriots, who have a billion draft picks in this upcoming draft. Like, I don't really understand how they project compensatory picks, but yeah, they have a lot of picks in this year's draft. They got the 14th pick overall. They got some big-time notable free agents there. Nelson Aguilar, Devin McCourty, who probably will retire. Jonathan Jones was a pretty solid rookie there. Jacoby Myers, Isaiah Wynn, Marcus Cannon, Jabril Peppers, all of those guys were contributors to a team that was a fringe playoff team. Made the playoffs only a couple of years ago. They have a bunch of cap space, $32 million. Bill Belichick, Pat Sullivan, Jonathan Kraft, team president. How should the Patriots approach free agency and the draft? Because they have another scenario kind of like with, we don't really know what Mac Jones is, right? Because he was very good. He was very good his rookie season, and he kind of came down to earth a little bit this year.
All right, so we had that's all I was going. We had one good season of Mac Jones, where did they make the playoffs? They were a wild card team, right? His rookie year.
Yeah.
So you made the playoffs as a wild card team. It wasn't a good showing at all. Again, the Buffalo Bills did not punt that entire game. The only negative play the Buffalo Bills had in that game was the kneel down to end the game. Like that's Mac Jones's first playoff game. That's where that went. It didn't help this season that he had no offensive coordinator. Right?
Yeah.
we talked at length about that. He had no offensive coordinator. His frustration was visibly voiced. Like we heard it. Like
we got him on a couple hot mics. Like really
couple hot mics. This sugar honey iced tea ain't working. Like So this is really not a Mac Jones problem. This is a Bill Belichick problem.
Yeah, I agree with you, and
and no one wants to hear that.
It also doesn't help that when you look at the wide receiving core and the weapons on the outside, Jonas Smith has been a complete bust as a free agent signing. Hunter Henry's been okay when he's healthy. I mean, Jacoby Myers is a solid number 2, number 3 wide receiver. He's not a number 1, and you're making him your number 1. Tyquan Thornton had a solid rookie season on the stretch there. Maybe he could be a guy who you're relying on. Devontae Parker is, Devontae Parker at this point. Like, this is the offensive weapons on this team just are very lacking outside of the running game because Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, good 1-2 punch, as good as it gets in the NFL, actually.
As good as it gets, and You drafted a couple tight ends, they didn't work, which is also why you went out and paid 90 million for two tight ends and Hunter Henry and John Smith. And yo, I was bullish on those two signings. I was like, yo, that's gonna work. That is crazy.
I was
Good
real
for
high on the Jonas Smith and both of them actually. I thought they
both.
would both fit in. Jonas Smith has been basically non-existent. Like you can't get on the field. I don't know. It's because he's not a great blocker and how poor this offensive line is in times. But yeah,
But
this is and Hunter Henry was touchdown dependent. He didn't give you anything when it wasn't in the end zone.
here's the thing. The and I don't know why, but the New England Patriots offense has been documented as one of the most complex and complicated offenses to learn in the NFL. I don't know why they kept it like that. I would definitely have to like dumb it down for some because it's this stuff like whatever you're doing, Tom Brady is not there to make it work anymore. All right, Tom, we talked about it, especially towards the latter end. Tom Brady made a lot of people look good
Yeah.
in that offense.
Yep.
Tom Brady's not there. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady to the point where he can make everyone around him look good. Like at this point, with a third-year quarterback, you have to put him in the situations to be successful, not the other way around. We literally saw them lose a game. No, they won a game. Talking about the Jets, they won a game against the Jets where they scored
Didn't
three
score.
points.
They didn't
They didn't
score a
score a
touchdown in
touchdown.
that game.
If it wasn't for Marcus, what's the fast dude?
Marcus
Marcus
Jones.
Jones. If it wasn't for his punt return, who
Yeah,
knows how that?
I mean, they go to overtime and they potentially lose, but that was obviously taken out of the equation. Yeah, I think with New England, there's some of the other things. So like when you talk about some of their cap space, I know they have a ton of it, but if they wanted to create even more cap space, they also kind of need another guy on the other side of Matthew Judon who could be a consistent edge rusher. Hunter Henry could be cut 10.5 million. Trent Brown saved 6.5. Lawrence Guy 2.8. But this story begins and ends at the wide receiver position. They
No,
have to figure out what they're doing there.
here's the thing. So a lot of people give the Bears flack about not drafting well, not spending well. Y'all can't say that like we really gonna give Bill Belichick that pass?
I think he's gotten a lot of fleck in the last couple of seasons for sure. Talking about his reaches in the first round that
Like
haven't
think about
exactly worked out.
like how many
Like
like how many
Carson, like the what's his name? Cole Strange was a wild reach. That he was okay his rookie season, but Kyle
like
Duggar, another guy who actually he's had a pretty solid NFL career, but nobody thought he would be taken where he was ended up taken.
exactly. So it's like how many draft whiffs has Bill Belichick had in 20 some years as the head coach? How many
Kind of a lot actually.
how many bad free agent signings has the Patriots made in Bill Belichick's tenure? Kind of a lot, right?
Yeah.
Signings that didn't work. Yeah. So you can like again, he gets a quote unquote pass because he's won 7 Super Bowls or 6 Super Bowls rather with the Patriots. But no, that's gone. That's done. Like you can no longer get that benefit of the doubt. You now have to put Mac. It's all about Mac Jones at this point.
Yep.
Because everybody's down and out on Mac Jones right now. So it's not a good season for Mac Jones, and it partially wasn't even his fault. Again, I'm getting offensive plays from a guy that was a defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia and a special teams guy in Joe Judge. None of those two dudes have offensive backgrounds, and then you go out and hire Bill O'Brien, which I guess he's the only reason you hired him, not only because he's an offensive coordinator, an offensive guy, but he ain't gonna challenge Bill. He's a part, like he's a
Yep.
part of the family. He's a part of the
Yep.
family. So
But let's talk. Yeah, so let's talk about the draft. So where would you go? I mean, we kind of talked about wide receiver a little
we
bit.
at 14. We have 14. I don't expect any receiver to go top 10. I don't.
I do not either.
So at that point, you have your pick of the litter at receivers. You got Jordan Addison. You got Quentin Johnson.
I think Jordan Addison is going to fall big time.
You got it was some receivers that had good combines, but again, you cannot get too caught up on combine numbers. They are running.
I think Jackson and Jigba will probably end up being the guy that goes to the New England Patriots. If I'm being completely honest about it.
You're out there running in shorts and t-shirt. Like it's real easy to look good.
Yeah,
shorts and t-shirt. Like that's why you got to pay more attention.
But Jackson and Jigba had a really good cone drill. That's usually like showed his explosion. That's usually a good sign for wide receivers. I think he'll end up being the guy. Let's talk top 3 priorities when it comes to New England. What do they got to prioritize this offseason?
Mac Jones's development, of course. Mac Jones's development. I think that successor talk for Bill Belichick is gonna have that's got to be had soon. I don't know how much longer Bill Belichick's going to be there. So the changing of the guard conversation, I understand it's not an immediate need, but it's one
by
of
the time the season starts next year, he's going to be 71. Like how long does he want to continue being the coach here?
But it's definitely one of those. I'd rather start this process early than too late and him retire and we not have him step down or whatever and we not have a plan in place. And my third priority, I gotta get the whole offense figured out, not just Mac Jones. Who's he throwing the ball to? Who's blocking? Isaiah Wynn struggled getting on the field and now he's a free agent.
Marcus Cannon's been there forever. He's getting a little bit older. They need to revamp this whole. They did a good start with hiring an actual offensive coordinator. Was it Bill O'Brien?
Bill O'Brien, yeah.
Yeah, and he's an excellent. As long as you don't let him be the GM of your team, you will be fine.
Right.
But yeah, so I agree with you on the priorities. I think the offense has to be totally revamped and figure out how you're going to run it. Let's move on from them. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. One of those teams that was really head-scratching team. They obviously sacrificed their first-round pick in this year's draft out of some tampering stuff. There were notable free agents: Mike Gesicki, Teddy Bridgewater, Eric Rowe, Melvin Ingram, Eric Fisher, Duke Riley. They have negative cap space. The head coach, Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer.
They cut Byron Jones. That saved, I don't know how much.
They might be back under the cap now. That Tom Garfinkel, team president, Dolphins, how do they approach free agency and the draft? And the conversation kind of needs to start and end with what the status of Tua Tagovailoa is, right?
Yes, so they've already come out.
Is he going to be the quarterback for them next season, or is there going to be...
Yeah, it's going to be him. Mike McDaniels has already come out and said, 1, we are not trying to get Lamar Jackson. 2, I fully expect Tua Tagovailoa to make a full recovery and be our starting quarterback opening.
I mean, but for how long? I mean, he's been... I mean, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. You never want to see a guy get the game taken away from him, but he's got to be thinking about that a little bit, right?
I know for a fact if it was me, I'd probably be done. Right? Me personally, it don't make and if that was me, if I was to suffer 2 concussions in 4 days, if I was to get tackled on the field to the point where my arms and my hands and my fingers looked like they were full of rigor mortis and they were stiff like that. And the last thing I remember from that night is getting hit. I don't remember waking up I don't remember getting in the ambulance. I don't remember waking up in the hospital. I don't remember leaving the hospital and going home. The only thing I remember is getting hit. Yeah, I'm done. That's just me.
I would probably disagree with you. I think if it was me, I'd probably be willing to die on the field if I was an NFL player.
Okay, and that's cool. I used to think that's cool. I used to have that logic, but then I understand. You got to understand this: the game, life goes on after the game.
I'm aware.
I want to be able to enjoy. I want to be able to enjoy. I want to be able to enjoy the life I'm gonna have after. I've already made my money in this case. The least you can do in this situation, if injuries take me out the game and I gotta retire due to concussions, you can honor you can do the whole stretch provision thing and just honor my rookie deal. And once that's up, Once
you
that's
can.
off, you got to worry
I mean,
about it.
you can retire him, and then once you get the retirement stipend for basically for life. Yeah. So cut candidates: Byron Jones, 4.1 million. Jason Sanders, there's excellent kicker, 3.8, and Durham Smythe, who's probably going to be replacing Mike Gesicki as their starting tight end next. Potential cap casualties. I don't
I
expect them
think
to cut Durham Smythe
I
or
don't
Jason
expect
Sanders.
I don't expect them to cut Mike Gesicki. I think they tag him.
No way. I think the tag. Didn't they already? Didn't they? I mean, they just tagged him the season before, so he's going to be expensive. And they never used him. He was basically never on the football. I would be shocked if
So
he
they
was.
gonna.
I would legit be shocked if he was back in Miami next season.
So they're gonna tag Mike Gesicki, right?
Have they already done that?
No, they're going to.
I don't think so.
This is just me. This is my prediction. They tag Mike Gesicki. I don't know what the backup situation is in Miami. That's why you had Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater was okay. Teddy Bridgewater win him a game. Did he win him a game?
No, but he's a serviceable backup in the NFL. I mean, if you need him to just come out and not Skylar Thompson was the guy who would probably be their backup. Skylar Thompson looked okay in that playoff game that he was forced to start in. So Skylar Thompson will probably be the backup to Tua. Raheem Mostert's also a free agent. I have him on the list because they have a billion running backs on their roster already. But
so if I'm them, and obviously we already know like the first round pick forfeited, it was from them trying to get Tom Brady and was it Sean Payton? They were trying to get Tom Brady and Sean Payton to come to Miami, and I guess they talked to them too early or whatever that process was. So yeah, you forfeited your first round pick off of that. You got Bradley Chubb, so you really don't.
Yeah, so they had a first round pick from San Francisco as part of the Trey Lance trade, but that pick ended up going to Denver. That ended up in New Orleans,
and now you don't have a first round draft pick at all.
No.
So you said like the first thing is handling Tua. You expect him to make a full recovery. Cool. You already said we, the Miami Dolphins, are not going to try and get Lamar Jackson. Cool. More power to you. More power to you for what it's worth. I'm just yeah. If you think, I understand, like when Tua was healthy, Tua was in the MVP conversations, and you were averaging basically 30 a game. We saw it. You were averaging like 30 a game. What offensive priorities? You don't like. I would have to incorporate my tight ends into the game. Like, you cannot be a San Francisco descendant or disciple, I should say, and not incorporate your tight end into the game. Like, do you not see how the 49ers are using George Kittle? I'm not comparing Mike Gesicki to George Kittle, but I'm just saying, like, there is no way that you're basically running the same offense in Miami.
I just know they didn't use Mike Gesicki a lot down the stretch last season. I would be pretty shocked if he came back. And I also realize that I could be wrong. So
I think they tagged him again.
I don't. I would be. That would be an expensive. That would be very expensive tag. This would
be the second tag, right?
Yeah. I think they let Mike Gesicki walk. I think they either address tight end in the draft. There's a bunch of them that are good in this year's draft. It would be better if they had a first round pick if they want to get one. But they can get a tight end who's not as talented or as light as Mike Gesicki, but somebody can do some of what he does for a fraction of the price.
Yeah, I mean, what difference? No, seriously, if they didn't use him, what difference does it make who's that tight end?
There you go. So
what it sounds like, they don't use their tight ends.
They did use Durham Smythe a little bit. He was probably their most productive tight end last season. Mike Gesicki just caught a lot of the touchdowns. He just didn't have the target share. So let's talk about priorities. Top 3 priorities when it comes to Miami.
It starts and ends with Tua. What good is it if he's not there? You all the moves you made were designated to put this young dude in the best place to be successful. And I understand it took a while for him to get there, but you hired a coach and Mike McDaniels, who the first thing he does is call Tua and says, "Hey, I believe in you. We're gonna do this together." Brian Flores never wanted Tua. He wanted Justin Herbert. The issue was the GM wanted Tua. So you already had the GM head coach clashing over the quarterback situation, and we see how that played out. Coach lost, got fired. GM has his guy. Now the GM is doing what he's supposed to do to put the guy that he wanted in the best situation to be successful. You drafted Jalen Waddle, you trade for a Tyreek Hill, you go from there. You hire an offensive coach and Mike McDaniel. Boom. All right, let's hit the ground running. The issue that,
Yeah.
but you got to stay on the field to you got to stay like you got to be available.
Yeah, so none of it matters if Tua Tagovailoa isn't available because they're not getting a quarterback. They're not getting anybody in free agency. Tom Brady's not coming out of retirement to play for the Miami Dolphins.
No, his daughter. He just bought his daughter a 2-month-old kitten, so
Yeah.
he does not have the time to
Well,
like.
cats are pretty low maintenance, so you can.
There were like they already started the rumors of Tom Brady coming back today, and Tom Brady's no, I'm done.
I saw that when I was like sort of working on my show. They were like one of those shows we're talking about. I'm like, Tom Brady's not coming back. He's done.
Tom Brady's not coming back. He's done.
We'll see what ends up happening with Miami. Let's talk about the final team in this division, Buffalo Bills. Arguably one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL last season. The fact that they didn't end up going even to the AFC Championship game, but they basically got beat down by the Cincinnati Bengals in that playoff game. There's their draft capital right there on the board there. I think they have a pick in every single round besides for seventh round.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Their notable free agents are Mentz, Jordan Poyer, Roger Saffold, starting guard, Jordan Phillips, Tremaine Edmonds, Dane Jackson starting corner, Devin Singletary starting running back, Shaq Lawson. They have negative $18 million in cap space. Sean McDermott, Brandon Bean, Kim Pegula, I think that's how it's pronounced. She's the team president. Also, thoughts and prayers to her. She suffered a cardiac arrest. Yeah, Pagula, thank you. She suffered a cardiac arrest like last month. So she's on the pathway to recover. So hopefully she's doing okay. How should the Bills approach free agency and the draft? They're notable cap. So if they wanted to make some cap space, the players that they could look to cut are Mitch Morse, their center, 6.3, Naheem Hines at 4.8, Darren Johnson, cornerback, 4.3, and Tim Settle, defensive tackle, $2.3 million. Their biggest team need, according to Pro Football Network, running back, offensive guard, safety corner, and wide receiver, as Davis really didn't emerge as the number 2 wide receiver that people thought he would based on that playoff game. So they're still kind of looking for that second guy.
I'm not gonna say he didn't emerge as the number 2 based off of one game. Gabe Davis had a hell of a season. Like if that's the case, they need a quarterback. Josh Allen was not good in that game either.
No. I meant people thought he would take another step forward based on the playoff game that he played against Kansas City last season. So people thought that he was going to take an immense step forward. That's what I meant. I didn't mean the game against Cincinnati.
Okay, then yeah. Rescind that comment. Hold on. Let me wait 1 second. Well, considering coming off that playoff game, he had a career year this past season. 48 receptions, 836 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That's coming off a season where he had 35 catches, 549 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So he did take a step forward. He just wasn't 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, but no, he didn't take the step forward that many people projected him to take.
He upped his stuff.
And that has a lot to do with the problem that people saw that playoff game, and so they put these unrealistic expectations on him.
Well, how big of a step did they want him to? To me,
I think a lot of people expected him to be a 1,000-yard receiver, 10 touchdowns.
He did progress, though. Like to say he didn't step forward, he didn't step up is just not true. He upped his catches by 13. He upped his yards by damn near 300.
And he didn't even play. He missed 2 games this season.
And he missed 2 games.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, people thought his numbers would be better than even better than what they were. Like so. I think
Well,
they put.
again,
I think they put unrealistic expectations on him based on one playoff game.
like his in that one his that second season, he only had 500 and some odd yards receiving with 38
Yeah,
catches,
yeah.
35 catches. So if I'm obviously if the Buffalo Bills they just can't get the offensive line right. The run game is non-existent. That Chicago Bears game is an outlier. Like
It's true.
that, take that, take that game away. Take that game away. The Buffalo Bills struggled running the ball.
Well, we talked about this with Christian and me and you and Izzy like every week almost. Like Buffalo, Josh Allen was consistently your leading rusher every single week, and you just can't win football games like that when you're having your quarterback has to do literally everything for your offense. There's
Yeah,
you
Chicago.
yeah, like it's either Josh Allen is incredible and you win the game, or he struggles and you lose, and there's very little in between.
Or he's incredible and you still lose.
Yeah.
Which we've seen. All right, like we've seen Josh Allen have the games of his life, and they still somehow lose that game. So like me personally, Tremaine Edmonds. So Tremaine, yeah, he's a safety, right?
Tremaine Edmonds is actually playing slide backer. You're
He
thinking
plays
of,
linebacker. I'm thinking of his brother. I'm thinking of the brother. The brother.
Yeah.
I don't see them losing him, and I damn sure to see them losing Jordan Poyer at all.
I think that Jordan Poyer is going to take less money to return to this team,
But
and I think they'll find a way to convert a lot of his salary into a signing bonus, and he'll sign for like next to nothing. I mean,
So
he'll just get it all.
But here's the kicker.
Which I bet you what they're doing with Tremaine Edmonds too. I bet he signs a minimum amount of money, actual real contract, where he gets an absurd amount of money in signing bonus, because that doesn't count towards the salary cap. Signing bonuses.
So here's the kicker. Jordan Poyer has also come out and said he would like to play for a team where the state doesn't take half his money. I don't know about you, but New York is kind of expensive.
Yeah, there's not that many. There's not that many states that they won't take half your money. We're talking like you could go to Dallas, or you could go to Texas, or you can go to Florida, and that's it. And
no. Those are states with no what's the word I'm looking for? No. Like there are states out there where they take your money, but they don't take as much as a New York or California would take.
Yeah, but you still, even if you go to a New York, or even if you go to a Dallas or Texas or a Florida, you still have to pay taxes when you play road games. It only impacts your home games.
Okay,
pretty sure.
That's still more than I'm still walking away with more than what I am playing in Buffalo.
That's true. Ain't wrong.
Like, seriously, it's.
I think this team's biggest need is a legit like 3-down, every down running back. I think Devin Singletary and Naheem Hines and whatever else combination of Zach Moss or not Zach Moss, James Cook. Like those guys they're fine, but you need a proven bell cow running back that can really run the football. Because they know they have no way of, and their offensive line needs to be a lot better. If I'm the Bills and they're talking about draft, first I'm not letting Roger Saffold go. I'm re-signing him, whatever it takes. And then I'm using at pick round 1, pick number 27. I'm looking at if Bijan Robinson's there. I'm taking the best offensive lineman available in this draft at center, guard, whatever it requires. Or I'm going to take the kid from Alabama, the running back at Alabama. His
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep, he had an excellent combine. And
the problem that you have with Jahmyr Gibbs is he's one of these smaller running backs. I don't think he's the running back that you need. Like I don't consider him a prototypical 3-down back either. Like that's fine. Like you can be like when you're that size, you can be a 3-down back in college when you have the offensive line that Alabama has. All right, like where you can get 5 to 6 yards a pop before you even get touched. Yeah, you can be a 3-down back with that.
Yeah, it's true.
Like that's
true. Well, okay, so yeah, Bijan Robinson, if he's there at 27, I don't think he will be.
Whenever Dallas is drafting, and because they draft ahead of Buffalo, I'm pretty sure that's where he's going. That's where he's going.
Totally agree with you on that. And I think they're going to let all of the running backs walk. So
no, they're going to tag. No, they're tagging Tony Pollard. I think Zeke is going to get cut. and
potentially.
they're going to go from there. But
I mean, the other thing is they need to get back underneath the cap space, so they could do some signing bonus. I still think they need another wide receiver, number
they
2,
need a slot.
or even a number 3. I mean, they can't keep dusting
They need a
off Cole
3.
Beasley.
Yeah, they need a 3. Because I think Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, that's fine as a 1-2 punch. You need that third dude.
And they have Isaiah McKenzie, who has shown moments of brilliance, and Khalil Shakir also
Mm-hmm.
has moments where he's really good.
So
Jake Kumaro, who's a solid player from Crystal Lake, right? Crystal Lake, I think
yeah,
he's from
yeah,
Illinois.
yeah, he is. So this is what I do. If
He's like one of Aaron Rodgers' best friends.
I agree with you. I agree with you on Roger Saffold. I got to keep him. If I don't go offensive line with that 27th overall pick, I call the kid from Boston College. I call Zay Flowers because he is perfect as a slot dude. I call Zay Flowers. I draft Zay Flowers with that 27th overall pick. And then in the second and third, that's when I get my offensive line together. I'm going to keep, you already know, I'm going to keep taking cracks at offensive linemen until I get it right.
Same thing with defensive tackle. I mean, once Von Miller went down at the edge position, but they have those guys they've drafted that just haven't really panned out or worked out. So those are another position you kind of have to keep putting bodies at.
It was fine up until Von Miller went down, when you just had to rely on Ed Oliver up the middle,
Gregory Rousseau, Boogie Basham, Shaq Lawson, AJ Epinesa.
Right, and those, especially Epinesa and Rousseau, when those two dudes, because those are your edge rushers, when they can't generate pressure because the other team is like, oh, number 40, I ain't got to worry about him. Like,
I don't think it's necessarily completely clear about when Von Miller is going to return.
When did he get hurt? What week did he get hurt?
I want to say because he waited on that surgery. I want to say it was like week 10 that he finally had that ACL tear.
He's 33 years old. He was it an ACL tear?
So he had the season-ending surgery. Yeah, it was on December 7th, 2022.
That is late. It's March. It's already March.
So if we're talking him returning, we're talking December. We're talking January. We're talking like the playoffs, like down the stretch for.
No, it all depends on how rehab and all that other stuff goes.
True. And as somebody who's already been through this, is somebody who already has a better chance of getting a favorable outcome.
Yeah. So
because you remember, he tore his ACL like it's
first. Wait, when did he have the surgery? Say it again.
December 7th, 2020.
December 7th. He had the surgery December 7th, right?
Correct.
January, February, March. So he's 3 months into the recovery process already. April, May, that's 5. June, July, that's 7. August is 8. So preseason is 8 months.
Yeah.
So if he busts his ass and he already knows what he has to do, so to your point, he already knows what to do. He just has to do it. Would I be surprised if we saw Von Miller back on the field in October? No, not at all.
No, I wouldn't be either. So,
which is still just enough time to, not. I ain't gonna say save the season because that's October, and if you're a Buffalo Bills team, you're probably the favorite to still win the East, AFC East, and make
unless something drastic changes the landscape of this division, Buffalo should be the favorite. I mean, Aaron Rodgers walks through that door, Lamar Jackson walks through that door.
Right. This is the question I have for you. Right. All right. So we've seen Sean McDermott take this team to what? AFC Championship. Right, come up short.
Yeah,
and then you lose. That wasn't. What was that?
Well, I mean, they went to the AFC Championship game, and then they lost in the divisional the year before, and then last season they lost in the divisional too.
So AFC Championship, divisional loss. If Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills comes up short again, AFC Championship, it's AFC. Like that's the floor for this team, right? AFC Championship. Correct. If they don't make the AFC Championship this season, what conversations are being had about Sean McDermott?
I think some real, because I mean they already scapegoated Leslie Frazier this most recent season. I think if they don't end up in the AFC Championship game, I think the Buffalo Bills might be thinking like, hey, let's make a change at coach. I think that's going to be a real conversation.
Because do you know the comparisons that Josh Allen is starting to get this early in his career? Do you know who they're comparing him to?
No,
Philip Rivers.
I can see that.
That like he's like
Big
no,
arm.
like not just that, but it's just like the terms of who Philip Rivers, because like the joke about Philip Rivers or the knock against Philip Rivers is what he can never get over the hump. Who were the humps? Tom Brady,
Peyton Manning, Ben
Peyton Manning,
Roethlisberger.
Big Ben. So it's like, damn, it's like he always ran into quarterbacks that were kind of better than him. So if you're looking at Josh Allen, it's Pat Mahomes, it's Joe Burrow. They better hope that if he comes across a Justin Herbert or a Lamar Jackson, that they beat them, because then it's like, all right, what are we really talking about here?
Yeah, I mean that was the knock on Philip Rivers' career. Could end up being the knock on Josh Allen's career as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk priorities. Cause we already kind of addressed a couple of them. I think priority number one, I think, is to bolster up this offensive line and build this team through the trenches, because they were just manhandled in the running game against Cincinnati and and they were unable to run the ball. So they have to build this team in the trenches, and they have to take some of this pressure off Josh Allen to be Superman every week.
Yeah, and defensively, that offensive line couldn't handle that Cincinnati front. They just couldn't. But then again, Bears game aside, excuse me, where they averaged 9 yards a carry.
I think that says more about the Bears, the Bears defense than it does about the Buffalo offense, for real.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that's just, that game aside, you couldn't run the ball. Like I was with y'all up until a certain extent of Josh Allen leading the team in rushing. Like y'all were against it from Jump Street, right? Like that was not a recipe to win, and I just didn't understand. I didn't understand the philosophy of it, because it's not that they didn't even it's not that they like couldn't run the ball. It's just, it was most games they just straight up didn't run the ball.
Yeah.
Like they just completely went away from it. Didn't even try. Like if it wasn't a Josh Allen scramble or a QB keep, or like if the Buffalo Bills run a read option, I already know that it's a higher probability of Josh Allen keeping the ball.
Yeah. 100%.
So I don't understand. Like I don't know what they're gonna do in free agency. I don't know what they're gonna do in the draft. But what I will say this: if the Bears let David Montgomery go, boom, there's your 3 down back. If you can make the money, if you can clear the cap to sign him, boom, there's your, not only like there's your 3 down back. He's a hell of a pass blocker. And he can catch out
of the backfield. Yeah,
and he can catch out of the backfield.
I did not expect the Bears to let Dave Montgomery leave, though. So.
I don't either, but crazier things
have definitely happened. That's for sure. But yeah, I think we're talking about priorities. We're talking about the AFC East. That has been our preview. NFL offseason preview for the AFC East, and like with that, we have previewed the offseason for every team in the NFL, just in time for free agency to start. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about our big free agency show, where we talk about some of the players that are going to be available. Let's talk about some of the players that have already actually signed. As we talked, Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints earlier this week, or even yesterday. I can't remember exactly when that was, last week.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. And then, we had Daniel Jones sign his massive contract, which I said
whoever gets signed, the other guy's getting tagged. And we both sat here and said, there is no way I'm giving Daniel Jones $40 million. And Daniel Jones got $40 million.
We'll talk about him a little bit more tomorrow. But we talked about him last week when we did the NFC East. Like, no chance would I've given him that kind of money. He's had one good year where he was like even remotely startable. Like, he's making $40 million. Like, I don't.
Okay. Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. But yeah, we're gonna be breaking all that stuff down tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that content. I'm David Hunt. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
we bring the heat, and the Philadelphia 76ers are just manhandling the Timberwolves right now on TNT.
We're gonna be
I
bringing the
think
crossover episode on Saturday. We're gonna be breaking down all the stuff going on in the NBA, especially that John
well,
Morant situation.
Saturday. What time Saturday? Because I got a lot of stuff
Uh,
to do Saturday, so it might
we can
have to be
move it
late. No, no, like, we can do it Saturday. It might just have to be like later in the evening. That's all.
okay, we'll figure it out.
All right.
You guys all have a good night. Be safe out there, and you have a good night at work, TJ. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, man.
Peace out, brother.